Welcome friends to Farm Fresh Designs 59. Today I am jumping right into the video because I am so excited about these new products that I'll be using in the IOD 2024 summer release. So I'm starting out with the thrifted board and I painted it with Paint Couture Opal Green, and I will make sure to put the link for that below in the description box. So once I get it all painted, then I use my Trimmings 3 mold, and I make multiple pieces of this. Now, one really awesome thing about the IOD molds, especially the Trimmings mold, is that a lot of them make sure that you can connect them super easy. And so I am just working my way all around the board. And remember, if you're using air dry clay, you need to put cornstarch in the mold, and then I use Titebond glue on the back of it, and that adheres it to my board. And then at each corner, I just miter it. I just kind of put both pieces together and cut them at an angle. And then there's the extra little pieces, and it miters it so that it looks very cohesive. But I just work my way all around the board. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. So let's go ahead and finish this beautiful piece. So I work my way all around, and I love how this finishes it off. And you're going to understand in a minute why I chose this particular one and this particular design on the Trimmings 3 mold. So if you'll notice, I already have a lot of the pieces just laying on the board to make sure that I'm going to have them in just the right spot. And I use Waverly chalk paint in the color ink, and I go ahead and paint my molds. Now I'm using the new IOD transfer called Etiquettes, and this is a gilded transfer, so this is new to the IOD product line. But you're going to do it just like any other transfer. You're going to pull the backing off, and you'll use a transfer stick to go all around it. And then you're going to work your way back up to the top, and then you're just going to peel it very slowly and continue to rub up against it as you work your way down to the bottom. And what you're going to see is so beautiful. Look at the shine on this transfer. It is so, so pretty. And this is something new to their product line. And as we move on through this video, you're going to see some other ways that you can just use this one kind of transfer, and you can use it in multiple ways. We want to make sure that we don't have any waste on this transfer at all. So friends, with this transfer, you don't use the plastic backing to burnish it. Just use a soft white cloth and then put the rest of that transfer off to the side, and I'll show you how to use it in just a few minutes. Now these are some resin pieces, and this is the new IOD bows mold, and there are 2 bows in it. There's a larger one, which I'm using now, and then there's a smaller one. The larger one has some little curled ribbons that come down from it, and the smaller bow has some ribbons that are more straight. So I've already made these up with resin, and I painted them with Waverly's chalk paint in the color ink. And because they were already made for a little bit, I used my heat gun to kind of get them warm because they weren't completely flat because they'd been sitting off to the side. And I ended up putting some things on top of them just to make sure that when I put that Titebond glue on the back, it made contact with this thrifted piece of wood that I'm putting it onto. And for this one, I'm using 2 sets of the ribbons that go with the big bow. And I just kind of play with it a little bit to get them in the place where I want them to be. And then these little pieces come from the IOD Swags mold. And I made 2 just alike. I made them from resin. And once again, I used the Waverly's chalk paint in the color ink. Now, one last mold that I'm going to make is from the IOD Lock and Key mold. And I'm going to make it out of resin. So if you've not used resin, I use Amazing Casting Resin. There's 2 parts. Part A is clear. Part B is kind of yellow. You stir them together quickly. And then you need to go ahead and pour it into the mold. You do not need to prepare the mold at all. It goes from cloudy to clear, and then you pour it in, and then it sets up in about 10 minutes, and it's ready to go. So I made a little bit extra, and then I pop them out. They come out really easy. And then I go ahead and paint it with Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and that chalk paint prepares it for what I'm going to do to it next. So I go ahead and let that set up, and now I'm using Dixie Belle Gold Gilding Wax, and I'm going to go over all of those black molds. Isn't that just beautiful? And now that that piece is set up, I'm just using some metallic paint that I get at Hobby Lobby that's just that really bright gold that matches the transfer. And on that lock and key, it's got a little hole in it, and I don't want that little hole to show through. So in that little opening, I just dip a little bit of that gold paint. So if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and become part of our family. All right, before I show you the final piece, I want to show you a really cool way to finish using that transfer. All of those little scraps that you have, don't throw them away. Save all of them. And this is just a little wood piece that has a decorative edge, and I painted it with Waverly chalk paint in the color ink. Now, what I'm doing only on that little decorative part on the end is I'm putting a special little glue on it. And I get it off of Amazon, and it's called a gilding adhesive. Now, all those little scraps, all you need to do is just lay it on top of that gold gilding adhesive. Let it sit up for just a little bit to kind of get tacky. And then it doesn't matter what's been on the front of it. Just rub that up against all of that gilding adhesive that you put around the edges. And it just comes off so easy. And you're not going to waste any bit of this transfer at all. And I just use that one little piece to go around this entire little piece of wood. And this is so much fun to be able to put this around the edges. And it just feels like you're getting, more bangs for your buck. And that's what I'm all about, is making sure that you get the most for your money. But all those little scraps, it's just amazing to see how easy it comes off. And it is worth saving all of those little scraps. But just look at that. And even when you think there's not any left on that plastic, keep going, because you might have just a little bit left in one particular spot, but just keep on going because you're going to find a place to put it. But isn't that a really cool way to take just a little piece and, gild it all up and make it really glamorous? So on this is some gold ribbon that I got at Joann's. Now, let me show you one more thing. This is one of the little frames mold that is made with resin, the IOD frames mold. And I use the gold gilding, all those little scraps to go around the edges. And then in the middle, I take a stamp from the IOD knob toppers, and I put a little bit of that gilding adhesive on it, brush it on, and then I stamp it on that frame, and then I put a little bit more of that gilding on it, just rub it over it. Now, Victoria Conhurst, I want to make sure she gets credit. She was actually the one that thought about putting the gilding adhesive on a stamp and then stamping it. And then once it gets tacky, then you rub all those little scraps around it. And then it is just amazing how many ways you can use this one transfer. So if you like this gold gilded transfer, it is definitely worth the money because you're going to get so much use out of it, even the scraps. Now, seriously, friends, how many times can you get a product like this and use every little piece and scrap of it? It's just amazing. But I love the way that this turned out. And I love that I was able to see just a piece in a thrift shop that I was not going to pay for. It was $25, and I knew I could recreate it in my own style. But I love the way it all comes together. So this is something that's becoming very popular, this gilded designs and all of this gold. This is really hot right now. So I hope you like it. And then look at this simple little piece of wood where I used those scraps and I put a ribbon on it and I used a little resin frame. And look at that. Isn't it beautiful? I'm so excited about sharing this transfer with you. So what do you think about this new transfer? Is this something that you're interested in? And is it something that you will use in your own home? And friends, think about it. At Christmas, this is going to be amazing. All right, so now I'm going to use another transfer. So this is a little box that I thrifted, and it had some little grooves in it. So I filled it in with some spackling, and I am now going on and putting some resin pieces from the IOD olive crest mold. So I'll put those up at the top. And then some other little pieces down at the bottom. I don't have those made in resin, so I'll actually be making those with DOS air dry clay in just a minute. And I use Tight Bond Thick and Quick to put all of my molds down. Because it is true to its name, it sets up really fast and it seals it pretty tight. So the pieces that I'm going to put down at the bottom, I also make those from the IOD olive crest mold. And I make that little swag right there, and then on either side of it, I'm going to use those little pieces that I call parentheses, or at least that's what they look like to me. Now on either side, I'm going to use the little beaded trim that comes with the IOD Classic Elements mold. And I make that with air dry clay, and once I put it in, after putting cornstarch in, I like to go back over it with a little old gift card to make it flat on the back. So now I'm using Dixie Belle, I think it's called In the Navy, and which is a really deep blue. And I have got these molds set up. They've set up for about 10 or 15 minutes. Typically, I like to paint mine after about 10 or 15 minutes. And I don't usually like to let them set up overnight because it really helps with the cracking if you paint them after about 15 minutes. But I use a really soft bristle brush and I do it really easy. Now I'm going to try some blending techniques. And so in the middle, while that paint is still wet, then I'm using Dixie Belle Yankee Blue, and I'm just using a brush and I'm just kind of swirling it around and mixing those colors together around the edge. It's really easy, and you know what? Here's the thing. If you try something like this and you don't like it, then you just paint back over it. Now once I finish with that around the middle, then I'm going to go in with Dixie Belle Paint Blue, which is a really light blue. And I'm just kind of start blending that in the middle. And all of this paint is still wet. And you're just pulling in some of that medium color paint into the lighter color paint. And it's just a really fun blending technique. So try this if you like it, because it's really satisfying to see how, just keep working with it and how amazing it looks at the end. Okay, and one thing I forgot to tell you is typically before we put on a transfer, we always seal it first. Well, I'm going to tell you that there is a sealer that you want to use on these new gilded transfers. And it's called Modern Masters Metallic Paint Collection in Master Clear. And I'm using the one that is the satin finish. And I will share the link in the description box below. But I get this from Amazon. Now this is another transfer that's just a little bit smaller. So this would be like a little jewelry box or a little trinket box. And all those little pieces that I've trimmed off around it, I make sure that I save those, because I want to be able to use every piece of it. So I painted it, and then I sealed it, and then I put that transfer on it, and then you seal it again with that Modern Masters Master Clear. And then I use the Dixie Belle Gold Gilding Wax and go all around all of that little trim. And I just think it's beautiful. So tell me, what do you think? Okay. I'm going to show you one more way you can use the transfer. Take that transfer after you've already put it down on that little blue box. And then what I like to do is pull it up, because it's not going to be sticky on the back. And I trim all around the edges. And I did that term called fussy cut, but I made sure I left a little bit of gold around the edges. And then this is just a little sun that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm painting it black. And I put that sealer on it, and then I used the Dixie Belle Gold Gilding Wax, and I put those over the little hooks. Now I'm putting the Master Clear on it, and then while it is still wet, I'm going to use the remnants of that transfer and just lay it right on top. And then there is another way that you can use that transfer. So there are multiple ways that you can use these transfers. Now, I will tell you this. I wanted to be super careful with this one, and I kind of pressed down on it just a little bit, and that's something that I would not do again, because in some little spots, you could see little darker spots on that transfer up underneath. And that's all I did to it. And this is just some little beaded ribbon that you can get at Hobby Lobby, and I put that on the back. And it's just something you can hang your keys on or your jewelry. But look at those two pieces. The first one right here has got the original transfer, and then the second one has the remnants of the transfer. What do you think? I love it. So friends, thank you for stopping by today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. And today, this is Saturday. If this video goes out like I want it to, and at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be doing a live video on Facebook in my Facebook page, and it's called Just Farm Fresh Designs. There's no 59 at the end, but go to Facebook to Farm Fresh Designs, and I will share the link. And at 2 o'clock, I'm going to show you some more of the new release. So in the comments today, make sure and tell me, what is your favorite piece today? I'm not really sure. I thought it was going to be this first piece, but I can't tell you because I'm so happy with the way that all of them turned out. So if gold is not really your cup of tea, just remember, Christmas, well, it's actually right around the corner, even though it might be 117 degrees where you live. Christmas will come pretty quick. And these gold transfers, these gilded transfers, are going to be perfect at Christmas. So make sure that you remember that, because these are going to get sold out really quick. And I want you to be prepared for Christmas. And all of those little scraps, I just put them in a Ziploc bag. So one more time, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. And make sure to hit the notifications button so you'll know when I upload my next video. Have a wonderful day.